76 updating with its new Gone Fishing thing, right?
Yep.
Did you know that this also has some some Eldritch Elder God implications? Enough so that people are making theories on YouTube about it.
Don't mind me. I'm just going to go get 76 back onto my system.
Oh dear. I have a little less than 30 minutes to get back to my freaking base. Thought there were workbenches around here. Was I mistaken? And as the double entendre name implies, fission, implying nuclear fission, but also there's a fishing mini game in here now, apparently.
Fuck
And challenges
yeah.
tied to it.
Fuck yeah, fishing. Love me some fishing. Alright, let me send out the links.
There's a 2-pack that I think you might be interested in if you're interested in getting a more recent Sandstorm.
Oh, right. I saw that 2-pack.
It's the Titans Return Slug Slinger with a retooled version of the Legacy United Sandstorm. We all knew the cartoon accurate head was going to get released eventually. Here it is. Which makes this the most toon accurate Sandstorm we've had to date. Personally, I'm excited for the G2 Dinobots.
Oh, yeah, I did see some of those.
As much as Red chooses to disagree with me on, well, everything in G2 must be ugly because it's G2, so it has to be ugly because it's G2, so it has to be ugly. No, not everything from G2 was hideous. Yes, there was neon all over the goddamn place, but not everything was hideous.
Just most things.
Like, I'd hardly call G-Axis ugly. Weird, certainly, but not ugly. Figures I say that now, I just hear the TF2 scout in my head. You know, you're not scary, you're just weird! Oh. Mentioning TF2 reminds me. Film Theory tackled Nemesis Blue.
I want to watch that as soon as I can.
I will not spoil it for you. Not that my spotty memory and half-dazed, I'm only sort of awake mind could actually regurgitate what I saw at the moment. Just that there was a lot of praise given to Emesis Blue from the film theory team.
Alrighty. Hello, Internet. Welcome back to the cave. Vegas Bear here as always. With me, Kumon.
Help me, I've been awake for like 27 hours and counting. I'm fine for the moment, but I am choosing to make jokes about my situation to cope.
Yeah, I don't know what happened last night, but apparently he didn't sleep.
I got too sucked into, my usual combination of insomnia and gaming.
Fair. Today...
Like, I planned to go to sleep after I took care of, like, a handful of minor maintenance things, and then next thing I look up and the sun is rising.
You know, that used to be a lot more fun when we were younger.
So it's a lot of stuff.
So we are back to Resident Evil 4. And we are continuing with Separate Ways.
So he wants me to retrieve the Amber. An object of ill omen. What terrible actions will be done in its name, and who will pay its dark cost? Because in this world, someone always pays. Best not to ask who or why. I understood that. Made my peace with it. Until that one night in Raccoon City changed everything.
As I start up YouTube to have the stream on a bigger screen, I am, heavy air quotes, graced with a Watch Mojo countdown of the 10 biggest flexes in Gundam.
I'm heading to meet Luis at the rendezvous point now.
I'm seeing increased movement from Los Illuminados. Don't get careless.
Copy. Ada out. Almost at the church.
So you say these side stories are pretty short?
You mean Separate Ways?
Yeah?
It's not as long as the main game, but I'm not entirely sure how long it is. Essentially playing through like, we're playing through Ada's story here, and we've seen parts of it in Leon's campaign. But as of right now, we are. I don't think Leon's not. If he has, he's probably away in the police car right now.
Are you a bad enough daughter to save the president's dude? Damn it! Why can't I get this right?
What a warm welcome.
So, apparently there's a G-Clux Unit 2 now,
Oh!
and it's basically just Evangelion Unit 1.
Oh, right, the G-Fred.
I'm empty.
Like, that color scheme cannot have been a coincidence.
I mean,
Those colors, in that specific layout, with that art style,
you know who's working on this show, so
that had to have been an intentional reference.
had to be.
So, since I mentioned some Transformers reveals, I might as well mention one that's less been revealed and more hinted at. Missing Link Ultra Magnus.
Oh.
There was a comic fairly recently released that centers around the Missing Link RC, and Ultra Magnus is featured heavily in that comic. Supposedly, Grimlock is also in the lineup too.
Interesting.
I'm seeing quite the crowd here. I wonder what has them so riled up.
The president's daughter. Undoubtedly.
Couldn't have picked a worse time.
Consider the village infected. Complete local saturation.
I've read the file. I'll see what I can do.
Puedes correr, pero no te puedes esconder.
Let's see, kitchen knife. Gunpowder.
Puedes esconder.
Wait, isn't this? Oh yeah, this is the cabin.
¿Dónde estás?
I have a feeling that you could suggest to Ada that her outfit be practical and she'll just look at you like you just insulted her entire bloodline.
¿Dónde estás?
I mean, at least this is arguably better than what she was wearing in Resi 2. Longer sleeves, more padding.
Also, in the in RE4 original, she had a similar outfit.
I'm just terrified to find out if she's actually still wearing heels or not.
I'm pretty sure she is.
Few things are scarier than women who know how to run in heels without breaking their ankles. Having two older sisters who have complained about having to walk in them, I am very keenly aware of how difficult those things are to maneuver in.
Oh shit. If they didn't like me, kill the thing.
Choosing not to make a horrible, tasteless joke and just gonna say, yeah, you killed his pet. Which is also horrible, but not nearly as horrible as what had flowed through my mind thanks to lack of sleep.
See, what flowed through my mind was Epic the Musical.
What flew through my mind was some variation of that was his wife.
Bakuman were in Spain, not southern not southern United States America.
Like I said, sleep-deprived brain, stupid things. Physics! How did that work?
Bring me a challenge.
Also, Anna, you're lucky that torch went out, because if that bridge caught fire, you'd probably be screwed.
Yeah, she's definitely still wearing heels.
This lady is crazy.
Why am I not surprised? So kind of you to keep our friends busy. Let's see if we can find another route to the church.
I could give a million if I were in her place examples, but, well, I'm not her, so
This way looks promising.
I'll just let Ada make her own choices and suffer the consequences. The grapple gun's cool, though, I'll give it that.
Yep.
Like, I'm telling you, if you were to ever play Halo Infinite, make sure one of the skulls you find immediately is the infinite ammo skull. Because that one also gives you infinite equipment uses, which makes zipping around the map with your grapple hook a freaking breeze. You're basically Spider-Man! Speaking of which, holy crap, I can only imagine what a version of Peter Parker with the Spartan 4 augmentations would be capable of. I'm basically stacking a multiplier on a multiplier.
Oh, that's dangerous.
In short, granted, even with the augments enhancing Mjolnir armor, a Spartan could flip a multi-ton Warthog or an even heavier-ass tank. They're flipping cars and tanks like they're just flipping a chair. Putting Spidey's strength on top of that? Like, we already saw via Superior Spider-Man what happens if a Spidey who stops holding back punches somebody who is not strength and or durability enhanced.
Mm-hmm.
It's a scary thing. Now let's take that a step further. With the Spartan augmentations, we'd be giving Peter nigh unbreakable bones.
I'm empty.
Not bad.
Okay, next.
Like, ignoring the Spidey stuff for a second, Spartans are busted, man! Like, in the Mark V Mjolnir armor at the time, the one we see from the first game, still very new, they're still testing it.
That's one job done.
Jeep was able to run fast enough to outrun an attack helicopter that was pursuing him. With quick enough reflexes to turn around, grab a missile that was fired at him from said helicopter, and throw it back.
Fuck.
Supposedly, the only injury he sustained was to one of his Achilles tendons,
You're
and even
right.
then, that healed up pretty quick. You want to know what a Spartan can do without the armor?
What?
A roughly 13, 14-year-old John 117, fresh out of getting his augmentations, was baited into a fight with his, I think, 3 or 4 fully grown adult ODSTs. He killed them with his bare hands by accident.
Fuck.
And that was immediately after the augmentations, when he was an early teenager. And I have to preface this by saying, John was not the fastest Spartan, nor was he the strongest, nor was he the smartest. There were other Spartans in his little group there that he would very quickly give those commendations to. he was actually middle-of-the-road average in almost all stats except for his ridiculous luck.
I was about to say, he may not be the strongest or the fastest or the smartest, but he is the luckiest.
Like, they managed to turn his luck into a quantifiable statistic. To the point where Cortana, a super advanced AI that had relative difficulty processing illogical plans, could understand, yeah, this dude's so lucky, I'd rather have him carrying me than any of the other more combat adept guys. She could have picked any other Spartan, and she went with the one with the absurd luck. She could have had any of them, and she went with the one with loaded dice.
Stop again.
Honestly, it was the right choice, given the history the two would share together.
Sounds like you could use a little help.
And I'm basically suggesting taking all of that, ignoring the amplifier that is the Mjolnir armor, which definitely has a role to play in the strength, speed, etc. of Spartans, and instead apply Peter's spider sense. Holy crap!
They'd be practically unstoppable.
Spartans already were very nearly unstoppable in ground engagements during the Human Covenant War. A spider sense on top of that would have made them nigh untouchable.
So here we see what it was that saved Leon in the very beginning of the game. It was Ada.
That's near Mendez, isn't it? He has a house there. Could be worth taking a look.
Do it. I'll see what I can find on my end.
Since I'm on a kick about explaining the Spartan 2s and what made them so broken, I'm going to mention the following, which is kind of scary to think about.
I bet Leon's here to save
They
him.
were not made for the Human Covenant War.
Yes, I remember that. They were made for the rebellions.
Which, you'd think the Spartans would be hilariously overkill, and to a degree they were, but then you have to look at the Hi, Cardman. You have to look
Hi,
at the
Cardman.
circumstances around the insurrection. That's what they called it, the insurrection. So, the best way I could describe this is Xeon if they never developed mobile suits.
Shit.
That's what the insurrectionists were, by and large. Like, they were straight up performing nuclear attacks on heavily populated inner colony and Earth cities. The Spartans were not an overreaction. As much as we like to think they were,
those people who don't know their history and think that the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki was uncalled for overkill.
It was unfortunate. It was like, I'm never going to defend the bombs being dropped as a good thing, but it was a necessity.
Yes, I will also never say that it was a good thing we dropped the bombs. It was necessary in order to stop the Japanese, because
You've picked quite the place to
if the
set up shop.
Japanese are known for one
stranger.
thing, it is being very resilient when they have a target.
In much the same way, the UNSC was viewing the insurrectionists in the same light. Very resilient, very determined.
Well done.
They were resourceful. They were not gonna stop. And the Spartans were basically, how do we put the quickest ends possible to them with the lowest casualty rate among civilians and the lowest expended resources.
That cash in your pocket or your life. Easy. That
Instead of fighting a prolonged war,
it will be perfect.
they made super soldiers. This was their second attempt to make super soldiers, and the first one that was
Ruby's all
largely successful.
You can't go
The
wrong with
Orion Project, henceforth redubbed the Spartan 1 Project, had produced some successes,
You can't go
but not
wrong
enough
with
to be
that.
considered worth pursuing. One such success was when Sergeant Avery Johnson,
Oh,
who was in his 70s by the time we hit Halo Combat Evolved.
A deal well struck.
You wouldn't even know he was in his 70s because of the augmentations he got.
All yours, stranger.
It was those augmentations that made him resistant to
All
flood
yours,
infection.
stranger.
which I'm guessing was their way of excusing how he survived.
Well,
Got a selection.
the way the writers explained it to us after the fact, in universe,
You have a ticket.
they
here.
blamed his supposed immunity to the
Choose
flood
your weapons, so that's
on
all.
a type of medical condition where
You've got an eye.
enough exposure to
So that's
high intensity plasma
you come back
basically fucks up your DNA
Hey,
and your
this is
nerves.
One stranger. Anything else? Now go
shit.
and cause some mayhem.
Particularly your nervous system, because that's what the flood uses to infect you. As I have mentioned in the past, it is an excruciating process that I would not wish on even my worst of enemies.
Yeah.
Because even being dead at the time of infection does not spare you that pain. If you happened to be dead when the flood infected you, they would just fire up your brain and your nerves as they infected you, and it would be excruciating. I imagine, for many of these people, the Plagas function the same way.
Oh, alright, this is important. Master, if you pay it some thought, it is unusual that Isidro...
Easy draw.
Let me go. Ever since the beast in black robe struck me with something, I've been feeling strange. I've started seeing things, having visions. The sky itself looks like that of another world. And then that thing comes. Only now, there are many. Hundreds. Master, I beg you, please, is there any way to escape this horror? That sounds like what happened to Ada when she first encountered that black-robed figure.
To return to the point of the Orion project, guys, the augmentations tended to drive them crazy. They tended to exhibit multiple signs of varying mental illnesses after the augmentations and would frequently self-terminate. Johnson was one of a lucky handful to maintain his faculties all the way to the end of his life on Installation 08, I believe it was.
You won't let me go so easily, huh?
Yeah, 08. As for, you know, wisely spending resources to put down the human insurrection, don't get me wrong, it was still hella expensive to make this happen. Supposedly, one suit of Mjolnir armor could pay for the construction of an entire frigate. And that was before they got advanced enough to have energy shielding. Yeah, fun fact, they didn't always have those. Energy shields were an innovation that happened during the Human Covenant War by reverse engineering and studying the shield gauntlet recovered from jackals. And this is a point I cannot stress enough because it made me smile when I read it in the book, Halo the Flood. It was either the Flood or First Strike. It was in the rough vicinity of Halo Combat Evolved in the timeline here. One of the Covenant elites who had seen this energy shielding in action and lived to tell the tale had claimed that the humans' energy shielding technology for their armors was superior to the Covenant's own.
Oh yes, that elite was executed soon thereafter.
Sent it to a suicide mission.
Yep, I thought that.
See, that was the thing. The Covenant's technology was imitative, whereas humanity chose to innovate. The Covenant merely copied whatever Forerunner stuff they could find. Humanity took those designs and tried to make it better.
Won't budge.
And that's how we got the energy shielding for Mjolnir. That's how humanity started developing better weapons to punch through Covenant shields. In space combat, though, much to my amusement, the best and most effective weapon was actually one that was considered old by that point.
Oh?
The magnetic accelerator cannon, baby. Those things could punch through the shields of a Covenant ship and their armor. another hilarious thing to note about the Covenant shields was that they worked both ways. So, if you managed to trick them into raising the shields when they were firing, they'd trap the plasma with themselves. Force them to melt their own ship's armor. And now that I'm returning to topic, I have to get into the big, nasty black splotch on the record of the Spartan 2 project.
That was,
Rotten.
They were children.
yeah. Children that
Remember when I said
that were taken
like,
from their
this is where-
homes.
Yeah, this was where I was going when I mentioned the side effects with the Orion Project guys. It was an unfortunate necessity of the augmentation process they had at the time. They didn't have the technology to enhance adults with the consistency needed. Adults would tend to reject the augmentations entirely or go insane. By doing the augmentation operations on children who are still growing, their bodies would adapt to the augmentations more likely rather than rejecting them. And even then, almost half the Spartan 2 class that got augmented, well, there's a reason the term Spartan 2 washout exists. Even the washouts would eventually have their augmentations fixed, but they would have to be put in cryopods and kept in suspended animation for years until their augmentations could be fixed. And not all of them did. The current head of the Office of Naval Intelligence in Halo, as of Halo Infinite, is a Spartan washout. They were made the best the UNSC could make them. Trained in military history and strategy from the age of 6, when they were taken from their homes and replaced with flash clones that would die of quote-unquote natural causes to prevent anybody from doing any looking into the disappearances. There are...
Oh.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I hope they had those flash clones set to die at different times, because otherwise they would have a very different problem.
I mean, it all depended on... Well, when I say natural causes, I do mean comparatively natural. Flash cloning was not an exact science. Cloning was a thing, but was considered illegal. Because cloning, especially flash cloning, was prone to the clones receiving varying degrees of organ failure. Cloning a single organ to replace it for a transplant, that's one thing. That's easier to control. An entire person? You're playing with fire.
Yep.
Over the course of their training, several Spartans actually managed to escape the training compound, and there are recorded instances of a few of them actually beating their clones. It rarely ends well.
I can imagine.
when Spartans found out they had been replaced with basically identical clones who were slowly dying, it led to more than a few mental breakdowns.
Makes sense.
They do not sugarcoat this either. These Spartans were indoctrinated.
Lovely.
Though that's not to say that they are completely incapable of merging into society when the need arises. There has been at least one recorded case of a Spartan successfully retiring and even starting a family in spite of their augmentations reducing the drive to do that.
Really?
Yeah. That very same retired Spartan would end up being contacted and would end up being the one to test Master Chief's Mark 6 Mjolnir power armor.
Damn.
Keep them busy, Leon.
But, yeah. Super soldiers with horrifying implications and drawbacks. I'm still convinced that any one of them in full Mjolnir armor,
There's
even
really
without
nice here.
one of the weapons from the Halo universe, they'd just have to resort to whatever is available in the Resi universe. Any Spartan in full Mjolnir would solo this universe. Though, it is important to note I did specify in full Mjolnir.
At least they're holy.
If you have a Spartan in just standard military gear or whatever else is available without the Mjolnir, well, now there's a chance that you can get infected.
The last thing we need is a Spartan zombie.
The UNSC has a contingency for flood infection when it comes to Spartans. And it is a plan Ellen Ripley basically suggested herself in Aliens. Nuke the site from orbit.
It's the only way to be sure.
This contingency works in two stages. The armor is designed to lock down if it senses that the occupant has been compromised in some way. This has a wider range of applications, from making sure a bone that actually does break gets
Can't
properly
wait
set,
empty-handed.
but more so,
What
it
about
makes
you?
it harder for the flood to move. There has only been one recorded instance of this protocol being invoked. Only one known instance of a Spartan being infected. The armor was in full lockdown mode. And the combat form was still just as agile as any of the others.
Shit.
I bet they took him here.
This is with the armor actively resisting movement.
Hi, Mendez. Why, Mendez?
If the lockdown fails, all personnel are to evacuate from the site or planet, whatever have you, and then bombard the planet itself with nukes. Keep in mind, the UNSC's strongest nuclear bomb is capable of cracking planets.
Oh, shit.
This is the kind of shit they're using if a Spartan gets infected. They're willing to destroy entire planets to deny the flood of Spartan. I believe I have gone into depth before about just how fucking scary the Flood are with their hive mind and how they learn.
Yes, you have.
This is why
Still after
they are going to such dangerous extremes if a Spartan gets infected. Not just for the physical threat the Spartan, when infected, could provide, but because Spartans tend to know very sensitive
Looks like it's
information.
in the slip.
Especially by the time this protocol came into effect, when they have moved on to the Spartan 4 program, and the augmentations have advanced enough that they can actually be performed on
I'll buy it.
adult volunteers instead of conscripted children.
A deal well struck. Well then, what can I do you for?
There's
Why
some
not
pretty
try
high-ranking
your hand
Spartans.
at a new gun, stranger. Might
With-
save your life.
Again, very sensitive info. Like locations of planets,
How
because
have we
deactivate
broken
defense
yourself
systems.
killed now?
stuff like that. Destruction of the Spartan and the planet itself is meant to deny a flood infection, depending on its stage, before they could actually, you know, put that information in the hive mind.
Oh, breaks over, I suppose.
Got something.
If you don't move fast enough in the evacuation, you're gone. I imagine the BSAA is going to have very similar policies with some of its operatives,
Locked.
just not quite to the nuclear extreme.
Oh yeah, no, like if a BSAA operative gets infected, like standard procedure is to, you know, take them out. Oh, there's a tripwire here that they must have. Hey, that's Leon's chest!
Moving on to
At least we know what happened to the jacket.
it'll probably return it at some point after the game.
No, she fucking sells it to, the merchant.
Who then sells it back to Leon.
I wish.
I mean, if we're lucky, that's how it happens. If not, well... that jacket is somewhere. Hell, knowing the way she is, Ada probably kept it. Like, it's equally likely between her keeping it and selling it, in my mind.
Right. I want that crossbow. I'm gonna need to sell some shit.
Hello, stranger. Welcome. What can I interest you in? Well done, stranger. Well, look at you, mate.
And the jacket just got sold.
Yep.
A deal well struck.
I find it hilarious that you can sell it.
Oh, that's part of a mission.
See you again soon, stranger.
I will just say, the Office of Naval Intelligence,
Welcome, stranger.
well,
Ooh, what easy.
there's a reason that their operatives are called
Try that on for
spooks,
size.
colloquially by the Marines.
We're starting to get an idea of your tastes, friend. This kind of work is about finesse.
It's because even in the universe, it's kind of well established. These guys, they claim to have the best interest for humanity at heart, but that is severely doubtful. On the one hand, yeah, they're responsible for creating the Spartans, who saved humanity from the Covenant.
Welcome.
On the other hand,
What can I interest you in?
they conscripted children to become bionically enhanced super soldiers to fight human rebellions.
Well, that's our choice to make.
Yeah. And then there's some of the shit they did during the Human Covenant War, like attempting to devise multiple bioweapons to use against the Covenant.
Because clearly we've learned nothing from Umbrella.
You say that. I should show you an animated short that is called The Mona Lisa.
Oh, lordy.
Imagine, if you will, the titular Mona Lisa is a prison vessel with human prisoners and Covenant prisoners of war,
You're welcome. Ooh, what you buying?
all of whom are the unwilling test subjects to attempt to study the Flood and turn it into a bioweapon to use against the Covenant.
Because of
Can't go
course!
wrong with that. Please.
By the time our main crew already gets there to investigate, it's already compromised. The place is hella infected,
Didn't trap. Welcome.
to the degree that there's a proto-grave mine in the engine room.
Lovely!
A deal well struck. We're
And
starting
there
to get an idea of
genuinely
your
may
tastes.
not have been any survivors.
Well then, what could... Don't get yourself killed now.
Well, any survivors that the aliens would care about. Because naturally, the pencil-pushing Oni spooks somehow managed to betray everyone and survive, taking one of the only escape pods.
Of course.
And now we're down to the last of the Marines and the last living Sangheili prisoner. There's only enough room in that last life pod for one person. This ship is going to blow. And the last thing we see in that short is these two preparing to fight each other over that pod. This story goes into some of the horrifying details of how diverse flood infections can be. And I don't mean the mutated results, I mean the infection process itself.
Down here.
I know you're familiar with the infection form that burrows into one's torso and attaches itself to your spine.
Yes.
Not good.
There's more ways to get infected than just that.
Great.
Like any typical whole standard earthly zombie flick, a mere bite or scratch is enough to transmit the flood supercell into your blood and convert you into another flood form. It's just that the less direct the infection gets, the longer and more agonizing it is.
Not a soul in sight.
And that's not to say getting bitten or scratched is a slow conversion.
These belong to Luis.
It's just slow compared to the
Did
standard
Luis
way.
notice?
So, you can actually contract the flood by breathing.
God. Oh, of course. Of course.
That flood supercell can be spread all through the air because the way they terraform environments to their needs, the air can legit turn green with collections of this stuff. Spores consisting of these supercells. It's all there.
That's your job.
You would need
Ready
heavy-duty
to
air
hand over the
filters
amber?
in a helmet and a freaking rebreather if necessary to get through one of these areas.
I know it.
You avoid being infected this way as the Master Chief in most of these games because you have a sealed environment suit. Small blessings, that Mjolnir. Anybody without such filters,
Might be a while.
the only reason they're not getting infected in seconds is because, well, concessions of the gameplay. The blood can infect the air, it can infect water, it can coat food with the supercell and spores and whatnot. There is literally no way to avoid infection if you are in what the Forerunners called Blightlands.
Lovely.
And if it manages to not physically infect you, there's still the Logic Plague, which, again, people think only applies to machines, but it is much more than just machines. Especially given the way AI are created in the Halo universe. All it takes is an advanced enough mind.
Salvador, go away.
But I've been rambling on for long enough.
I mean, if it helps you stay awake.
What I mean is we could just move to another topic.
Gotcha.
Because the flood is, well, gruesome. I guess I'll transition back to Resident Evil by saying, if given the opportunity, Umbrella absolutely would try experimenting with those key things. The same kind of breakdown Reed Richards had in Marvel Zombies, considering it's the next stage of evolution.
Night night.
Now that I think about it, I'm pretty sure Umbrella had a strict, well, mostly strict, no parasite policy during research.
It honestly depends on how one classifies the Flood. Honestly, the Flood is an organism that, while they keep calling it a parasite, it damn near defies classification due to the many diverse forms it takes. Because remember, its most basic form is a supercell that attaches itself to a standard, any given cell of a host body and multiplies like a virus.
Having a bad day.
Oh shit, it's Wesker.
Wesker, to what do I owe this pleasure?
Stop wasting my time, Ada. Find Lewis. Fetch me the amber.
I should probably thank you for this room. Are you staying? Back me up.
I'm not here to babysit you. See that you remain an asset, and not a liability. I have absolutely no use for your incompetence.
Easy with the
Wesker,
threats,
you can
Wesker.
tell- you
Just
can
get it
easily
done.
Solo.
I'll be in
this
touch.
Entire village. By this point, he is superhuman.
You're okay. I've been waiting and you're still coming, right?
Yes, just had some business to attend to. I'm on my way now.
Got it. See you soon. Ciao.
Yeah, like, at this point, Wesker's a freaking... He's superhuman.
Just because I can do it myself doesn't mean I should have to. Right, that's what the pawns and the underlings are for. Just because I can do it myself doesn't mean I should have to.
I mean, yeah. The only time he has ever actually, like, taken action himself was in Code Veronica when he went to go fight Chris. And that's when we learned that Wesker had become superhuman.
And then, of course, there may or may not be a boss fight against him in 5.
This could use some cleaning.
Yeah, but that's later.
So, as long as we're bringing up characters that could solo the RE universe, who do you think could do it?
Good question.
Specifically, characters from outside the Resi universe that could definitely tear it to shreds if they visited.
Well, it has to be someone who would be immune to infection.
I could think of at least
Just my luck.
Oh boy, those things. You were saying?
We'd have to like figure out okay, what characters could survive a zombie apocalypse.
A part of me wants to be cheeky and throw the Helldivers in there, despite me knowing very little about their universe.
I would.
Specifically if they had prior intel and the ability to prep their loadouts.
Oh no, they have
I have some
very
new
high
goods
casualty
that might
rate. The whole reason Helldivers work is because they keep
Well,
throwing them at the
got
problem.
some rare things on sale, stranger.
Yeah, that problem is also super-powered aliens. And robot.
Yes.
What you see is what I've got. All yours, stranger.
Compared to them, the zombies and parasite-infected things here are much more mundane. With the exception of the giant mutated
Your
animals.
weapons are in
Yeah.
good hands.
That's gonna get a few of them.
I'll see you right. Well then, what can I do you for? Now go and call.
Like, I've actually seen people use arguments between, like, loadouts and specific skill types and squad layouts to explain how a squad of Helldivers, a very specifically equipped one, could survive the Alien movies.
It's possible.
Specifically, survive being in one of the first handful of them, but throwing them into an actual alien hive proper? Not as much.
You need to give them enough explosives.
They devised two scenarios, one where they had no intel, and one where they had enough intel to prep.
I was afraid of that.
Go figure, giving them enough time and intel to prep means they can actually handle the problem, not necessarily with ease, but they can handle it. The next pick I was going to suggest, I had a few, but like, given you were mentioning like immune to infection, I'm just gonna put Wolverine and or Deadpool here. True, they couldn't fend off the virus in the first Marvel Zombies, but that is something that gets rectified in every successive reboot of the series. Like, they make it clear that the zombie virus that infects everybody, the Hunger Gospel in like the first Marvel Zombies, is weird. The kind of weird where it actually has no true origin.
Yeah, because if memory serves, the whole thing is over.
So, before we had the time loop thing via the Watcher, supposedly Magneto found this virus in the depths of space and attempted to use it to wipe out the Homo sapien species. Except, it infected mutants too.
Because guess what, dumbass? Mutants are human too.
They give like no less than 4 separate potential origins for this particular plague before we finally get the time loop. One of which was literally Ash Williams had died and was at the gates of heaven, only to encounter the infected sentry already there, who pushed him out of the way, fought his way out of heaven, and both of them end up crashing in the Marvel Zombies universe. with Sentry being patient 0.
I want to try and shoot it out of the air, because I think I can hit
Like, as over the top as some of the later Marvel Zombies entries get, and for how, like, head-scratching the series can be at times, they do manage to pull off some decent dark humor.
I remember, I think it was in Marvel Zombies, it was either 2 or 3, the one that had Machine,
3.
where he, like, they found out that the zombies that stayed behind on Earth had found a way to clone humans, and were using that to
The Kingpin basically created an entire economy around other zombies find food to feed his still human, non-infected wife, and he feeds them these cloned humans.
Pretty much.
Here we go.
But by the end of it, after everything's said and done, they're playing one of the villains just looks back at Kingpin and goes,
Oh, Wilson.
and it cuts to Wilson eating his wife, and he's like, what?
What about that I eat?
Which is, like, really dark, but also kind of funny. Poor Vanessa, though.
Gets even sadder when you realize what the food that was being brought back was.
What was it?
Canned pet food.
Oh.
Which, it makes sense. We don't know how long it's been since the initial infection at this point, and this is clearly after the Galactus-powered super zombies left. So we're in the 50-year time span between Marvel Zombies 1 and 2. We are introduced to this whole deal with a pair of lower-tier Spidey and Iron Man villains. As they're talking about what places they had to go to get these cans of pet food. It was specifically cat food one of them was carrying, but still. And they're going like, Scorpion says, I had to schlep all the way to Trenton to find this. What about you? The other guy, I think it was one of Iron Man's villains, could be wrong, says, Hartford, that's in Connecticut. They're going farther and farther to find this stuff because so many zombies are attempting to, you know, feed themselves by feeding the one human in reach. Like, it's completely a character for Wilson Fisk to monopolize on anything, including a zombie plague.
That's true.
I'd say if only Zombie Daredevil were still around, but let's face it, he'd probably be in on it. Because, you know, undead.
Hunger gospel. It can really fuck you up.
Among the super zombies seen in these issues of Marvel Zombies 3 was Deadpool.
Oh yeah!
This was the first time we saw him, and it won't be the last.
He got his head chopped off.
In the sequel to the book.
Oh.
Because it largely goes something along the lines of
My, you are a
Marvel Zombies 1 and 2. 3 takes place between 1 and 2. 4 takes place after 3. Which then spins off into Marvel Zombies Midnight Suns. And if you follow the ending of Marvel Zombies 2 proper, you get Marvel Zombies Returns, which creates the time loop.
Also, a whole bunch of, like, side shit. Involving other comics.
Most notably Deadpool.
Sorry, big guy. Can't let you go
And the
that way.
Fantastic Four.
I will say, watching Reed Richards rampage through the zombies after Dr. Doom had switched minds with him, it's Reed in Doom's body using all of the magic and whatever else at his disposal that he basically learned by reading Doom's entire library in a few minutes, which apparently Reed Richards was always capable of doing.
He is one of the smartest men on Earth.
And basically using all of that to wipe out the zombie double F. And some of the ways he does it are just plain gruesome.
What the hell is that?
Like filling the zombie Reed's head with maggots, which consume him from the inside out. I can't recall how he dealt with others at this point. I believe he suffocated Zombie Torch.
What is this Attack on Titan bullshit?
God, the houses even look kind of like they did in Attack on Titan. Kind of.
Yeah.
At least the roof do. Also, Ada, you fool, you gave up the high ground! Obi-Wan Kenobi is very disappointed.
Only a matter of time before it wrecks the place.
So, yeah. I guess consider this a fun fact if you must, but Marvel Zombies was my introduction to the Midnight Suns.
Yeah. I love it.
Which brings me back to what happened in 3 and 4. So, Armor, which was apparently some kind of multi-dimensional reality police set up in Earth 616, had contracted Machine Man and another robot by the name of Joe Costa, whom this was my introduction to her too. I would later find out this one was built by Ultron. Basically a vision scenario of built by an evil robot, saw the good in humans, decided to be a hero.
Now stay down.
They were meant to pass through a portal, go into the zombieverse, and get a blood tissue sample of a still uninfected human.
Hey.
This is where Mrs. Fisk comes in.
I do.
Right.
The kind you like. Now where's the amber?
Fortunately, it's not on me at the moment.
They
Yeah,
couldn't
we
take
should
any
be
tissue
telling
samples from the clones because,
Good job.
well,
you did.
they're
Busted my
clones.
ass and managed to hide it right
Their
before I
DNA
got
was
caught.
going to be muddled to begin with.
Which is why I'm still alive.
Also, how does
The
it
deal
coming back to
was,
clones?
we get you out of
Anyways,
here when you deliver the amber. No amber, no protection, Luis.
they got the sample in return,
Such a stickler for details, hide.
only to find their base in complete shambles.
I'll go get it now. How about that?
See, it turns out the Dr. Michael Morbius that prepared them and sent them on their mission, and supposedly used the sample they got back
I
to
do have something else in it.
create a vaccine to inoculate everybody. That's not what he was doing. This is the Morbius from the zombieverse spreading the infection.
Yep.
In the chaos of trying to reclaim the base, he escapes. The real Morbius volunteers to put together the Midnight Suns to track him down. And this was largely where we were introduced to Zombie Deadpool and the unchanged, relatively unchanged personality of the Merc with half a mouth
Coming back here. Eh? Well,
by his own nickname.
plans do change, no? Are you angry? You're angry. There is this one thing I must do before I can recover the Ember.
Before.
Let's just say
This is
it
not a
gets
negotiation, Luis, so choose
incredibly
your
complicated
words
from there. Mephisto gets involved.
Whoa. Listen, there is someone who needs my help. You know me.
It's just all kinds of headache.
Samaritan.
Let me guess.
If Mephisto's involved,
Leon?
then of course.
Yes, exactly. Leon and that young woman, they're both
Like,
infected.
what kind of headache am I referring to?
This medicine.
The kind that suggests that the werewolf by night can be infected in human form, change to the werewolf, and be not infected in that
Why
form.
does this matter to me?
Because you two are infected. It's what I researched for all these years, Ada, and I see the symptoms already showing in your eyes. You must already feel the effects, eh? The medicine will stop them
I'm
from
still trying to figure out how they figured that out, how they justified that.
and nothing to lose.
Something about the vast difference in their biologies.
Okay, but this is your last chance. We do this first, and then the amber.
I'll let Leon know. Hola, Luis here. You guys still around?
Well, I wanted to go home, but Ashley just had to see this castle first.
Perfect, because I have a present I want to give you. Medicine that will help to suppress the progress of your problem.
Where do we go?
Let's see. Come to the courtyard inside of the castle. We can meet up there. Ciao. Sorry to keep you waiting. Shall we?
The hilarious part, at least from my experience with the comic, was that I was
Ladies first.
plenty willing to follow along and see what hell Michael Morbius got up to, because I was familiar with him and his story via the 90s cartoon for Spider-Man. I knew he wasn't necessarily a bad guy, so I wasn't surprised to see him working with his, well, the heroes of this story.
Yeah. Don't mind me just messing with the Transformer.
What I find the most hilarious was the crucial key to stopping this infection was Man-Thing.
Hell yeah!
It turns out it's not just the living mortals who burst into flames at the touch of the Man-Thing. Anything that knows fear does this.
Anything that knows fear burns at the touch of the Man-Thing. So all we need to do is scare the shit out of Mephisto. Throw him into Louisiana. And just wait.
Tell him that Mayday Parker's coming for him and that's the only place he can hide.
There's a hidden laboratory downstairs. My stuff should be there.
Along with the suppressant?
Either that or tell him that Doctor Strange bet his immortal soul that Mephisto couldn't survive shaking hands with the Man-Thing.
No, I think that's too on the nose. I think Mephisto would figure out something.
What would I do without you, Ada?
Be parasite food? Guess we'll find out.
Also, Mephisto, buddy, you really screwed up if you wanted to make Peter suffer for having to surrender his marriage and everything.
Here we go.
Then again, I can see you not doing this particular course of action as I don't want another freaking Ghost Rider. Think about it. Am I the only one who have expected Aunt May to die in some other accident after her one more day?
I mean, considering who Mephisto is supposed to be, yes.
Thanks.
Like, this is literally the same type of deal that was made that spawned the Ghost Rider. I give you this in exchange for prolonging my loved one's life. Save them from this particular thing. Okay, I saved them from this particular thing. Now they'll die over here.
Now they die because of this thing.
So, okay, I saved your precious Aunt May from dying of her gunshot wound.
Can't let the medicine be destroyed.
Luis!
And now she'll die of a heart attack when she discovers you're Spider-Man in this reset timeline.
You're serious?
For both she and Mary Jane will die in a horrific Green Goblin-related accident.
or worse.
Don't inhale the smoke.
Paul takes over. Spider-Man is now in a universe where Peter Parker just no longer exists, and instead, it is Paul Parker. You know someone at Marvel has tried to suggest that.
If you're trying to kill yourself, can you do it after you've delivered the amber?
I think I'd sooner have them revisit the Clone Saga and say that Ben Reilly was actually the real Peter the entire time again.
There are things I must set right.
Although I will say,
But that is impossible now.
while I am confused about what they're doing with Venom, I do love that they're finally just shitting on
Together,
Paul.
please. Make more. You know how, just
Like-
do it.
I'm hard pressed to find anybody who likes that guy. That is such
The ingredients are all here.
an obvious
In the castle.
writer's pet.
Yes, I need time, but I can still get you your ember.
All right then, let's go.
And like,
We can go back up this way. Then
okay, so you know the concept of a Mary Sue?
Yes. I've
Apparently there is an opposite concept whose name I am forgetting at the moment.
Gary Stu.
No. Not in a sense of opposite genders still the same role. I mean like legit polar opposite. Everything they do is wrong. They exist to suffer.
Spider-Man?
That is literally what they turned Spider-Man into!
for anyway.
You're better off not knowing. Trust me.
Well,
I've seen people actually use this very same concept to describe Shin Asuka, who exists solely to be wrong in every capacity and suffer for it. And they're doing that to Peter.
They also broke one of their rules and brought Gwen Stacy back.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, for the longest time, Marvel has operated on a set of unwritten but still kind of enforced rules. Among them are, well, honestly, this makes two of those unwritten rules that got broken.
Where's the key? Shit.
Both of which involving Spider-Man characters. The first one, and the only ones who remain unbroken for now, is no reviving Uncle Ben.
Hey, won't be my finest effort. But it might
No
just
true revivals. Uncle Ben has to stay dead for Peter's motivation to stay
find
intact.
these ingredients. Just maybe.
You can temporarily bring him back for a conversation as a reward for all the hell Peter's gone through,
Now we'll go grab the ember.
but he cannot stay back.
Good luck.
I bring this up because that was a legitimately heart-wrenching scene of just watching Peter and Ben, well, catch up.
This is where we part. Good luck.
And seeing that Peter finally got some degree of closure over what he did. As Uncle Ben not only...
All right, first.
Like, it's not said out loud, but he does forgive Peter for what he's doing, but like for what happened. The burglar.
Yeah.
And he also tells Peter in no uncertain terms that he's proud of the man he's become.
Sangre.
And I'm reminded, like, as Peter walks away from that conversation, his 10 minutes with Uncle Ben up, I am reminded of the ending of the 90s cartoon where Peter had come to the same conclusion, albeit in a different way, in this case, talking to Stan Lee. How he came to terms with who he is and for the first time can finally like himself again.
A raccoon. Guess this is
Now,
fate.
this rule has remained unbroken for now. Uncle Ben resurrections, if he has, when he gets one, they're always temporary. They never last more than one issue.
Like yourself. Welcome. Got some rare things on sale, stranger.
Which is good.
I'll buy almost anything.
The second person who was never to be revived, as you mentioned, Gwen Stacy. By extension, George Stacy.
Don't get you.
The Stacys in general are not to be revived. They're doing it anyway.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck possessed them to do that.
Probably to ship her with Peter. To go, see, we can make him have a happy life. Oh, you wanted him married again? Here, he's married to Gwen now.
But Gwen's dead.
Not anymore.
I don't like this.
Well, you're wrong.
I'm gonna go read the other
But
Spider-Man.
it's basically the mentality that Marvel has with Spider-Man at the moment. Unless you're working on the current Ultimate Spider-Man book, in which case, while it hasn't been the smoothest of rides, it's definitely doing a lot better, and has been outselling the main book for almost a year. In fact, a little over a year now. More like a year and a half.
I still need to get on that and read
How
more of
elaborate.
the new Ultimate Spider-Man.
The first ingredient should be in this room.
Like, from what I've been hearing about it, it's a genuinely good book. With some interesting changes. Like, among other changes, Harry Osborn as the Goblin from the start as a good guy. Who also hadn't met Peter yet. And apparently Harry's tech guy was Otto Octavius.
Interesting.
That must be the ink.
I suppose you could say this universe broke the rule of not reviving Uncle Ben, but is it really that breaking that rule if he never died to begin with in this timeline?
I mean, if he never died, then you're not really breaking
You
the
can
rule.
stop right
Plus, it's an
there,
alternate universe.
Leon.
In this alternate timeline, it was Aunt May who died first, and seemingly for natural causes.
Well, after 6 years, that is one hell of a greeting.
Uncle Ben, meanwhile, managed to live long enough to see Peter get married and have 2 kids.
Try using knives next time. Better for close encounters.
Not a bad move.
Very smooth.
So who are you working for this time?
Oh, Leon. You know I don't work in town. Leave the girl. She's lost no matter what. You walk away now, and who knows? Maybe you'll live to meet me again. And then I might get you that greeting you were looking for.
You think I'm gonna give up that easy?
Right. How about we continue this discussion another time?
Like, we have plenty of alternate universes where Uncle Ben survived. Hell, in one universe, he was Spider-Man.
See you around, Leon.
See, we bring up universes where Uncle Ben survived, and my mind again goes to the 90s cartoon. In that world, Peter Parker capitalized on his powers, becoming basically his universe's Iron Man. Damn near globally beloved, multi-millionaire, has his own giant spider robot. Unlike Leopardon, this one is a lot smaller, capable of fitting inside buildings, and is basically the guard for the building. Oh, and his suit happens to be the Spider Armor Mark I.
Hell yeah!
In his universe, because Uncle Ben never perished, Peter supposedly never learned the true meaning of with great power comes great responsibility. Though he is still technically a superhero, so I'll give him that. This is also one of those bizarre, rare universes where, on the surface, J. Jonah Jameson seems to like him.
Oh, this universe feels wrong.
I say on the surface because, in fact, he was plotting behind the scenes with Wilson Fisk to take Spidey down.
That's more like the J. Jonah Jameson I know.
And funny enough, since we brought up Gwen, this was the only time in the 90s cartoon she showed up.
Really?
And she was married to that universe's Peter.
I've got a bad feeling about this.
And, for what it was worth,
Who comes up with these things?
she was written about the same as comic books Mary Jane was. Far from helpless, clever, and 6 Peter's technology on Spider Carnage because she realized right away that Spider Carnage was not her husband.
Nice.
I'm like, how is it that this version of Gwen is written more like MJ than certain versions of MJ?
Because the writers don't know what the fuck they're doing. Oh. I was wondering why the door wasn't lowering. Or rather, rising.
Opening.
Yes.
Okay, now for the second ingredient.
And go figure, the key to defeating Spider Carnage was to reunite that particular Peter with Uncle Ben, who had a heart-to-heart with him.
Looks like something goes here.
And honestly, kudos on Chris Barnes for the voice work he did throughout the show, but especially for that moment. The way that Peter breaks down, he's basically in tears the entire time he's talking to Uncle Ben. And then you hear those tears turn to struggles as he strains against the Carnage symbiote, trying to take it off. Ultimately realizing he can't, and choosing to destroy himself with the very doomsday machine that he was going to use to eradicate the multiverse, just to protect Uncle Ben. And again, kudos to the voice performance because he was legit. He legit sounded like he was in a lot of distress and pain. If I were to ever get any voice actor other than Yuri Lowenthal, or maybe my brain is stopping. Spectacular Spider-Man's actor.
Josh Keaton.
Thank you. If I were to get any actor other than those two to reprise the role of Peter Parker for, like, a video game or something, and I mean main universe Peter Parker, or whatever you quote-unquote main universe that particular game takes place in, I want Chris Barnes back. To me, that is what a post-college Peter sounds like. Which, funny enough, fun fact,
I know what's coming.
that was the last time, that was the second to last time we had a Peter Parker in college in animation. I say second to last because the true last time was the MTV Spider-Man cartoon.
Right.
Which they had their own really, really good Peter Parker.
Wasn't he voiced by Neil Patrick Harris?
That's the one.
Thought so.
Which, fun fact, they got him to come back to reprise the role of Peter Parker as the 616 Peter for Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions. If we could find a way to get that game working, I'd want to see you play that on screen.
What's this?
At the time, it released for PS3, Xbox 360, and Nintendo Wii. Its sequel, pseudo-sequel, Edge of Time, would follow on those same consoles. Which, if that one's easier to find and easier to get running, I will very gladly accept that one too, because that one has Chris Barnes playing Miguel O'Hara. The way Miguel O'Hara was meant to be written. Kudos to the Beanox games. They generally did their homework, and their games definitely felt about right for Spider-Man when they're not adapting a movie. If I had to suggest a game to avoid and put on the list, as much as it kills me to say, Deadpool.
The game?
Yeah, the Deadpool game.
What?
This is largely just a me thing, and you are free to ignore the suggestion, but Deadpool is basically out of character the entire game. from the moment you put the disc in or just start the game, this is not Deadpool. This is what memes think Deadpool is. Plus, I kind of have a minor grudge against it because this game is also what made Darkspark exist.
Darkspark? Oh.
Transformers Rise of the Darkspark.
Oh, fuck.
Because, keep in mind, the Deadpool movie was still quite a ways away at the time this game was developed, published, and released to the public. Deadpool was not as mainstream as he would become. This game bombed. It bombed so badly, it got High Moon shut down.
Well then, what can I do you for? Ruby's all rubbish.
With High Moon getting shut down, Fall of Cybertron never got its proper sequel. The assets that High Moon had for the Cybertron games were instead given to another company that ended up developing Rise of the Darkspark. A game that most Transformers fans revile and horror at.
Is a commodity these days. Got a selection of good things on sale, stranger. There's some things money can't buy.
Funny thing is, I had fun playing that Deadpool game.
Oh, I won't deny that it's a fun game to play.
Anytime.
Granted, I haven't played it myself, but I have seen people play it. I've heard that it's a fun one. But it's more so what it did to the studio that created it or rather, the studio that was forced to create it, that makes me more than a little mad. If you don't want to put it on the list and instead choose to play it for the stream anyway, that is perfectly fine. Again, your show.
I mean, I had no actual intention of playing the Deadpool game anyway, so...
I mean, it's rated M for a reason.
That, and it's one of those games where it's like, you play it once and, like, you're good. You don't really need to play it again.
Fair enough. What's funny is, now that I know what I know about how High Moon and the Cybertron games and what Deadpool happened to do to both, albeit likely unintentionally on the part of the game, well, a reference that used to make me smile now just makes me cringe. The Sentinel boot sequence.
Oh?
They turn the foot, or boot, whatever you want to call it, of a Sentinel robot into a mounted turret. And as the sequence goes and the turret reloads and changes to fit the situation, it makes the High Moon Cybertron games transformation sound.
Oh. Damn.
Like I said, it made me smile when I first saw it, but now that I have context for what was going on behind the scenes, it just kind of makes me wince. It's a harmless joke.
I can feel it.
On its own.
Well then, what can I do?
It's just one that becomes uncomfortable when you have more context of what's going on.
I'll buy almost anything.
And again, it's not the joke's
A
fault.
deal well struck. Don't get yourself killed now.
Oh, we're at 2 hours.
And I have been
Warms my heart.
yapping my everything off the entire time.
In this case, I'm granting you, I'm giving you some slack because I know you haven't slept for over 24 hours. So you're okay.
Almost 30 by now.
Yeah. Holy shit. All right. Let's take a look at the extra content.
I don't know if this is a good or a bad sign, but I have reached the so tired I'm not tired anymore stage.
Yeah, boy.
I'm going to look on the bright side and say I got my second wind, and that when I crash it will be a glorious one. Part of me wants to mention that I added more to Expanded Omniverse, which I guess I just did. But I'll save asking your opinions on it, or if you've read it or not, for after the stream.
Yeah, I saw that you posted it, but that was like right as we started streaming. So I haven't actually had a chance to look at it.
I think you'll like it. It's a moment of relative quiet between Officer Cook and Carrie Vox.
Okay. These ugly bastards. I don't like them.
I don't even have the energy to flip them off.
Del Lago. Elegante. Torres Mendez. Verdugo.
Sorry, I'm pretty sure that was a xenomorph. It looks like a cross between a Bayformers Decepticon and a xenomorph.
See, the funny thing is, you said that before when we were being chased by this fucking thing.
Because it moves like one! Like, seriously, the black spiky exoskeleton, the fucking mandibles. The second row of teeth underneath the bottom row of mandibles.
Ada.
Also, aiming the gun in the worst possible way. Remember, people, as cool as you may think it looks, sideways aiming like that does not help your accuracy at all.
It's Mike. R.I.P. Mike, you are awesome.
You showed up exactly when we needed you, and you were a goddamn lifesaver. Wouldn't surprise me if more than a few of the freaking infection AUs for the various franchises that have those fixed now are partially inspired by the shit in this game.
The Chainsaw Sisters.
Or more than likely the original version of the game from way back when.
Yeah. God, this thing is ugly. And the fact that it has jiggle physics.
I'm terrified to see the results of what would win in a three-way infection battle starting from square one. These things, the Flood, or the necromorphs.
Iron Maiden. And the Regenerator, Strong Threat. Del Lago, Elegante, Armored. Mr. Mendez, the Village Chief. His first mutation. Very,
very centipede-like.
Yes. His second mutation, which is very scorpion-like. Verdugo. Ramon Salazar. God, he is tiny next to these guys.
At least he and Barry Dahl from Batman the Animated Series have one thing that can relate.
Mutated Ramon. Jack Krauser. Jack Krauser mutated. You know what's real funny? His sword arm looks like the Soul Edge from Soul Calibur.
And both of his arms kind of remind me of, like, clawed bat wings for some reason.
Osmond Sadler. I was wondering if we could look up his skirt, but evidently not. I guess that would spoil the surprise. The surprise being that he's basically this under the coat. Oh, wait a minute. The coat's still there. That's funny. That's actually really funny.
Gotta love when they put in humorous little details like that. It's more than just a coat. I think that's almost his entire quote-unquote human body sticking out of it. No, wait, it's just the coat.
Alright. That's gonna be it from us here. Thank you. Oh, that's the wrong button. Thank you all for watching. This has been Vegas Bear 92.
And Mekumon.
And we will be back tomorrow with Doom. Doom 2, actually.
Considering a certain gaming chocobo has a lot of free time on his hands now, we may coax him to join us.
I have thought about making Wednesdays a stream day again, but after what I went through at Comic-Con and the pain I've been through for the last couple of days, I'm gonna say no to that. But I am gonna let Burb know that if he wants to come on and if he wants to come over and be on the stream while he has off, he is more than welcome to. He just needs to tell me.
I might consider suggesting the summer of '76 to him.
Ooh.
It would have to put Mario on hold if we don't finish it first.
Last I checked, we
But-
were very close to finishing it.
But, assuming we get Mario off the schedule, by finishing it or otherwise, we could fill that time slot with us exploring the new expansion of Fallout 76.
Yeah! I like that. Alright. So, I'm gonna leave telling that to Burb up to you.
Alrighty, daddy.
So, please, feel free to support us in any way you wish.
Be it monetarily, engagement, YouTube subscription, or just spreading the word, every little bit helps.
Yep. And
Of course, you do not need to feel obligated.
yes, it is not an obligation. If you send us money and I find out that that was for your mortgage, I will send it back. I may be greedy when it comes to money, but if that money was meant for something to keep you alive, I'm not taking the money.
We aren't Eugene Krabs over here. That's what we're getting at.
I'm more like Scrooge McDuck.
Greedy with a conscience.
Yep. And as always, stay safe, stay comfy, stay hydrated, be good to each other, and we will catch y'all on the next one. All right? Peace.
Don't make my mistake, folks. Get your